You know when you're out on the town, quaffing fine ales with the select group of gentlemen you call your friends, and you make the mistake of heading off to the pisser a bit too early, but once you've broken the seal, there's no going back, and it feels like you spend the rest of the night trudging back and forward to the men's room, or you just take the thinking man's solution and just wear dark jeans so nobody can tell when you've pissed yourself. Anyway, my point here is that after almost a year of basically no MCU content, the seal has well and truly been broken, and now we're practically drowning in the stuff. If we're not watching Wanda Maximoff charming the pants off small-town America,
we have your nightmares.
We feel your pain. Your grief is poisoning us.
or Falcon solving the world's problems single-handed,
You've got to do better, Senator.
or Loki impressing us all with his sheer intellect and sang-froid, we're being thrilled and inspired by Black Widow utilising her world-class espionage skills to combat the most fiendish enemies imaginable. Truly, we're now well into the metaphorical stream of foamy piss that is Phase 4 of the MCU, and it's not about to stop anytime soon, believe me. Next up on the never-ending conveyor belt of mass-produced Marvel products being churned out this year is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Damn, that one just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Now, on the surface, it seems like just another safe, reliable, slickly produced, but ultimately predictable film from a company that views entertainment as less of an art form and more of a carefully controlled science, derived from following the same prescriptive formula with clinical precision. The kind of movie that 5 years ago would have been practically guaranteed to do at least 700 million and might have had a shot at breaking $1 billion. But now I sense a disturbance in the force. Or should I say, a lack of disturbance. There's no meaningful chatter or speculation about this film online, no enthusiastic puff piece articles from the shill media, no hype or anticipation of any kind really. Basically, nobody seems to give much of a shit about Shang-Chi, and it got me to thinking, is this movie going to be Marvel's first actual flop? I mean, I'd be lying if I said the premise inspired much excitement in me. It's basically your standard father-son conflict about a plucky young man trying to escape his family legacy and find his own sense of identity. All the stock components are present and correct. There's a sinister organisation plotting to gain power, a generic-looking enforcer with skills and weapons that are far less practical than a fucking gun, a magic MacGuffin to unlock the protagonist's hidden powers, and of course, a strong female character to make sure those pesky men don't get too big for their boots. The fights look about as good as bloodless, weightless, modern CGI enhanced combat can look, I suppose. By which I mean they're almost certainly going to be tame as fuck compared to films like The Raid, or Fist of Fury, or any Jackie Chan movie ever. You know, films that actually relied on talented performers taking genuine risks to produce spectacular results. I don't know, man, it all just feels like a bunch of stuff we've seen before, only watered down and homogenized to fit the standard Disney Marvel template. There's no big names or characters in this one, no particular stakes, and no sense that it's really tied into anything else in the MCU. And I think this is a good example of how constantly raising the scale and stakes of your overarching storyline can ultimately start to work against you. Everything we've seen so far tells us that Phase 4 is going to be some kind of epic multi-dimensional war for the fate of time and reality itself. And if that's the case, if we're talking about a conflict on a vast, universal, godlike scale, do I really give a shit about some guy from San Francisco that can do kung fu? Like I said at the start, a movie like this would have done well in Phase 2 or 3, sitting neatly alongside lower tier characters like Ant-Man or Doctor Strange, and basically riding the wave of the Infinity Saga. The problem is, that's all over now, and combined with an unwelcome hiatus from new releases, interest in the MCU is on the decline. What Phase 4 really needed was a big, punchy, important kind of movie to kick off this new era and get people invested again, and well, Shang-Chi isn't it. Neither was Black Widow, which, let's be honest, was really just a hangover from Phase 3 that was awkwardly lumped in here after endlessly being delayed by the unspecified virus of unknown origin. On that subject, it's pretty common knowledge that movie theatres aren't exactly doing a roaring trade right now, and the fact that Shang-Chi is going to be a cinema exclusive isn't doing it any favours. The simultaneous streaming release of Black Widow might have put the brakes on Scarlett's plans to buy a second private jet. Cry me a fucking river, but it almost certainly helped to bulk up the film's final box office tally. It also conveniently allowed Disney to hide the actual numbers from public view, avoiding any embarrassing admissions that the movie might have flopped. Shang-Chi is going to get no such help or protection, and without that, it could well turn out to be Marvel's first high-profile failure. The fact that it didn't make it past our good friends in the CCP is just another nail in the coffin of Disney's grand ambitions, because you can bet that a movie about Eastern mysticism and martial arts, with an Asian cast and Asian director, was almost certainly chosen to appeal to Chinese audiences. That's the problem when you dance with the devil, you see. You never quite know when the music's gonna stop. It doesn't exactly bode well for the rest of Phase 4, which is already pretty light on interesting and compelling content. Are you excited for the Eternals? Or a Black Panther movie without Black Panther? Or yet another Ant-Man story that will almost certainly not be about Ant-Man? The point I'm making here is that Shang-Chi just isn't the kind of tentpole movie that can stand on its own and expect to draw in big crowds. Despite the flashy visuals, it's basically a minor film about a minor character that general audiences don't know or care about, and it really needs other, bigger and more established movies to pave the way and generate momentum that it can ride all the way to the bank. Without those things, well, it could just turn out to be a complete non-starter. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.